Hey everyone! Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. It really helps YouTube recommend more stories like this one to you. Alright, let's jump right in. The first time it moved on its own, I told myself it was a trick of the light. I was brushing my teeth late at night, house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator downstairs. Bathroom light overhead buzzing faintly. Everything was normal, except the mirror. In it, my reflection blinked just a second after I did. Not at the same time, after, like it was copying me. I stared for a long minute, toothbrush still in my mouth, foam dribbling down my chin. I waved my hand. The reflection waved. I tilted my head, it tilted. I blinked again. It blinked with me this time. Maybe I was tired. Or maybe, as I'd come to find out later, this house doesn't like being watched. We moved in a month ago. It was my dad's idea. A new start, after everything that happened with my mom. He doesn't talk about her much anymore. We packed our lives into a U-Haul and drove 3 hours out to this crooked little town no one's heard of. The house was old but cheap. Big yard, wraparound porch, weirdly shaped upstairs, but I got the room with the attached bathroom so I didn't complain. Dad said we got lucky. Said the market was insane and this house was a steal. That's because it had been empty for 7 years, but you wouldn't know it by looking at it. It was too clean. Like someone had been waiting. The mirror was built into the bathroom wall. A tall rectangle with a brass trim, old and ornate. Not something we bought, it was already here. Couldn't remove it even if I wanted to. It was sealed into the tile. I started noticing little things after that first blink. The mirror was always cold. Like freezing. Even when the rest of the room was warm, I'd hear clicks behind the glass sometimes. Like fingernails tapping, like someone was trying to get my attention. And then there were the photos. I was scrolling through my phone one night in bed, lights off, door cracked open, just killing time. That's when I found a picture I didn't remember taking. It was of me standing in front of the bathroom mirror. Pajama pants, oversized hoodie, the same thing I was wearing right then, except I didn't take that photo. I stared at it for a long time. The angle was wrong, like it was taken from inside the mirror. My face was wrong. Not blurry, just off, eyes too wide, smile too sharp, like I was pretending to be me. I checked the photo info. No timestamp.
No metadata.
No way to trace when or how it appeared. I deleted it. 5 minutes later, it was back. I told my dad. He barely looked up from his laptop. You probably left your camera open. Accidental selfie. While I was brushing my teeth. He shrugged. It's an old house, kiddo. Lot of weird noises, drafty windows. Don't let your imagination run wild. The thing is, I wasn't imagining it. I started sleeping with the bathroom door closed. I covered the mirror with a towel. But the next morning it would always be back. Uncovered. Door wide open. At first I thought it was my dad messing with me. But his room is downstairs and he's not exactly a sleepwalker. One night I stayed up, lights off, pretending to be asleep. Around 2:13 a.m. I heard the bathroom faucet turn on. Not drip, turn on. Full blast. I stayed completely still, heart punching my ribs. After about 30 seconds it stopped. I got up slowly and tiptoed over. The bathroom door was shut. The mirror fogged up like someone had taken a long, hot shower, but the floor was bone dry. A week later, I stopped seeing myself in the mirror, like I'd look and something was there. It had my face, my body, my expression, but I knew it wasn't me. It was like watching a really good actor in a movie. The details are right, but something's missing. I tested it, moved my hands in weird ways, waved suddenly, jumped. It mirrored me perfectly. Too perfectly. No hesitation but the eyes. The eyes were always just a little off. Like they weren't looking back at me. Like they were looking through me. I covered the mirror again, hammered in a nail and hung an old sheet over it. The next morning, the sheet was on the floor. The mirror had cracked. Not broken, just a thin, jagged line right down the center. Like it had been smiling. The dream started after that. I was trapped in my bathroom, but it wasn't my bathroom anymore. It was mirrored, opposite, the sink on the wrong side. The light switch on the left, and in the mirror there was me. Standing still while I screamed and pounded on the glass. I couldn't break it. I couldn't wake up. The reflection just smiled and tilted its head, like it was curious. like it wanted out. I started locking the bathroom door at night, even from the inside, just in case. One night I woke up to a tapping sound, not outside. From the mirror, not just tapping, knocking. 3 slow knocks, then silence. Then again I froze, barely breathing. My bedroom was cold. Way too cold, like I was standing in a walk-in freezer. I checked the clock. Frozen 9 a.m. the knocking stopped. I waited. Silence. I must have dozed off eventually because the next thing I remember was waking up to my dad yelling my name. He was banging on my bedroom door. When I opened it, his face was pale. Eyes bloodshot. "You locked the bathroom door," he said. I needed to use it. "You didn't answer." I thought. Then he stopped. Looked past me. What happened to the mirror? I turned. It was shattered. Not cracked, shattered. A web of fractures covering the whole surface, but it hadn't fallen. It was still hanging. In the center, where the cracks met, there was a small, perfect handprint from the inside. Dad called a contractor the next day. They tried to remove the mirror. Couldn't. Said it was fused to the wall like it had grown there, so they covered it with a new panel, drywall and paint. Problem solved. Except it wasn't. Because every night after that I heard scratching. Not like rats or mice, but deliberate. Scraping, steady, long fingernail sounds. Coming from behind the wall, sometimes I'd whisper into the darkness, "What do you want?" And the scratching would stop. Just for a moment. Like it was listening. Then it would start again, louder. Last week I found a note under my pillow. It was folded in half, no writing on the outside. Paper was yellowed, brittle at the edges. Inside, written in shaky pencil, "She wants your face." I threw it out, burned it. The next night there were 2 more notes. One in my drawer, one in my sock, same handwriting. "She remembers you. Don't fall asleep in the mirror. I haven't slept well in days." I keep the bathroom light on now. The scratching hasn't stopped. It's getting faster. Dad's worried. He thinks I'm having a breakdown. Wants to take me to a doctor, but I know the truth. The mirror watched me, studied me, and now that it's gone, now that I can't see it, I think something's loose. Something's not where it's supposed to be. Yesterday I caught my reflection blinking before me. Not in a mirror, in the TV screen. This morning I passed a shop window downtown and my reflection wasn't there, but when I turned around, I saw it. Just for a split second. Standing inside the glass, wearing my face, smiling. I'm writing this from a motel. I left last night. Took nothing but my phone and a change of clothes. The room has no mirrors. I made sure, but I don't think it matters anymore. Because just now I caught my reflection in the black screen of the TV here, and it didn't move. I shouldn't have brought a mirror back in. I knew better. It was a compact, the kind with a little flip-up lid. I didn't even mean to pack it. It must have been in the bottom of my bag. I saw it yesterday, half buried under my socks. I opened it on instinct, not even thinking. Just muscle memory, and for a second it was fine, just me. Pale, tired, bags under my eyes. But me. Then I blinked, and it didn't. I threw the mirror across the room, shattered it, watched the glass scatter across the cheap motel carpet like splinters of ice. I started shaking. Hands, knees, jaw. My whole body went cold like someone had opened a freezer behind me. Something is following me. Not just watching anymore, it's with me. Not tied to that house. Not even to the mirror. Tied to me. I tried to sleep that night with the lights on. Didn't help. The hum of the vending machine outside, the buzz of the TV on low, it all blurred together. But then I heard it, that sound, scratching, not from the walls this time, and from inside the dresser drawer. I sat up slowly, barely breathing, reached over, heart hammering. When I opened it, there was nothing inside, except a piece of hotel stationery, folded, same pencil handwriting. "She's learning to smile like you." I left the motel that morning. Didn't check out. Didn't care. I drove with no GPS, just kept going. Town after town, gas station after gas station. Didn't stop for more than 10 minutes anywhere. But by the 3rd day I started seeing her, in reflective surfaces. Store windows, chrome car bumpers, sunglasses. Always just a glimpse. A shadow with my face. My clothes, but the expressions never matched. I'd be frowning, she'd be grinning. I'd be blinking, she'd be wide-eyed. I'd look away, and she'd keep staring. And in every one of those reflections, her mouth looked wrong. Too wide, like it had been unhinged. I found an old roadside motel somewhere in the hills. No neighbors. No lobby mirrors. Just a key on a hook and a door with peeling green paint. The clerk didn't even ask for ID. Just looked at me and said, "You look like you need sleep." I don't think I've looked like myself in days. I checked every reflective surface in the room. Took the batteries out of the TV remote. Covered the faucet and the microwave door with duct tape. I even wore sunglasses to brush my teeth just so I wouldn't accidentally meet her eyes in the metal spout. Because that's how she gets stronger. I'm sure of it every time I make eye contact with her, even accidentally. I feel it, that buzzing in my ears. That pressure behind my eyes, that shiver through my skin like I'm standing too close to static. She's getting closer. Last night, I woke up with my mouth open. Not screaming, just open. Like someone had forced my jaw into a wide, unnatural grin while I slept. My face hurt. I ran to the bathroom, and for the first time forgot to check for reflections. The tiny chrome towel hook on the back of the door caught my eye. I saw her, not just a glimpse. A full view. She was right behind me, leaning in, smiling, her mouth stretched impossibly wide, her teeth all wrong, like someone had drawn them from memory, too many and too sharp. I turned around, nothing. Just the wall, but the smell in the room changed, the sharp scent of Windex and something rotting. Today I went to a thrift shop and bought an old mirror. Yeah, I know, stupid, but I had to be sure. I had to look, really look, and see if it was still me in there. I brought it back to the motel, locked the door, and set the mirror down in front of me. Took a deep breath. Looked in, there I was, hair messy, eyes hollow. Same hoodie from yesterday, and I blinked, and she blinked at the same time. Perfect, I almost cried with relief. Thought maybe, just maybe, it was over, until I noticed something. The background. In my reflection, the lamp was on the wrong side of the bed. The dresser was flipped. The window was on the left, not the right. It wasn't a reflection. It was a reversed copy. Another room. Somewhere else. And she was standing in it, behind the version of me that wasn't me at all. I smashed the mirror, but the image didn't shatter with it. For a split second, I still saw her, smiling, like she was glad I finally knew. I tried calling my dad. First time in weeks. I had no signal. Tried again from the payphone outside. The number rang. Then went to voicemail. I left a message. "Dad, something's following me. It's not just in mirrors anymore. It's in glass, screens, eyes. I think it's pretending to be me. If I call again and I don't sound right, don't trust it." That night, the dreams came back, but this time I wasn't stuck behind the mirror. I was on both sides. Two versions of me. One staring. One screaming, but the screaming one didn't have a mouth anymore. I woke up to the sound of my voice from inside the bathroom. "I'm okay," it said softly. "I'm okay now." But I wasn't speaking. I sat frozen, barely breathing. The voice continued. "I've taken care of everything. I'm finally clean. No more confusion." A pause. "I don't need mirrors anymore." Then silence. "I haven't gone in that bathroom since. I use the sink outside. I pee in a bottle. I don't care. I'm not opening that door, because whatever's in there, it's not me, but it wants to be, and I don't think it's trapped anymore." Tonight, I got a text from my dad, just one line. "Thanks for coming home. You seem better." I never went home. I checked my email. There were 3 new sent messages, all from my account, all to people I hadn't talked to in months, old friends, my cousin, my high school ex. Each message said something simple. "Hey, it's me. Let's catch up soon." I didn't write them, but they sounded like me. I don't know how long I've got left. She's copying me more precisely now. Voice, habits, writing style. She's using me as a blueprint. And I think she's moving on. Reaching out. Making connections. Soon she won't need me at all. There's a mirror behind the gas station bathroom stall. I looked in tonight. And for the first time, my reflection didn't even try to pretend. She waved at me, then turned around and walked away. I didn't know the door was even there until our second week in the house. It was hidden behind an old, painted-over bookcase in the upstairs hallway. Short, warped wood. Stained glass handle like something out of a Victorian dollhouse. The kind of door that shouldn't exist in a modern floor plan. The weirdest part? It was locked. Not nailed shut, not jammed. Locked. Like someone didn't just forget it. They meant to keep it sealed. We found it on accident. My wife was cleaning. The shelf wobbled, books fell. Behind them, the door. Probably a closet, she said. But when I put my hand on the doorknob, I swear to God, and it was warm. We'd only been in the house 2 weeks. Moved after the miscarriage. New start. Quiet town. Old bones but good price. Everyone said the same thing. Can't believe it sat on the market that long. I should have known. I never told Emma about the warmth. Didn't want to freak her out. I just shrugged it off and tried the knob. It didn't budge, there was no keyhole either. Just a flat brass surface where a keyhole should have been. Like it was sealed, she tapped on it. Hollow behind. You hear that? I did. A soft empty echo. Like the space behind the door was full of air. Later that night, I dreamed of crying. Soft, high-pitched wailing, muffled. Like it was coming from another room. But we don't have kids. Not anymore. 3 days later, Emma started sleepwalking. It was around 2:30 a.m. I woke up to the bedroom door creaking open. At first, I thought it was wind. The windows were shut, then I saw her standing in the hallway. Facing the nursery door, the bookcase was pushed aside again. She wasn't touching the door, just listening. Like she was waiting for something. I called her name. She didn't respond. Just whispered something I couldn't hear. Her lips barely moved. I reached out, touched her shoulder. She jumped like I'd shocked her. She didn't remember any of it. Over the next few nights, it got worse. Emma grew distant, pale. She started closing herself off. Long showers, long naps. Said she kept dreaming about a white room full of dust and toys. Said she heard something in her sleep. A soft lullaby. She hummed it sometimes without realizing. The same strange melody, off-key, too slow. I checked behind the bookcase again. The door was still there. Still warm, still locked. But there were fingerprints on it now, small ones. I called a locksmith. Said we found an old sealed door and just wanted it open. He came by the next day, poked around. He was quiet for a long time. Finally said, "This ain't locked from your side." "What do you mean?" He looked uncomfortable. "I mean, the mechanism's reversed. Like the lock's on the inside. Not meant to be opened from here." He said he could force it, but I told him no. I had this feeling, like that door wasn't supposed to be opened. I tipped him and sent him off. That night, the crying came back. Louder. At exactly 3:11 a.m., we both sat upright in bed at the same time. No sound, no alarm. Just snap, awake. And we heard it, the soft creak of a door. The hallway smelled strange, like old talcum powder and dust. The bookcase was pushed open again. The nursery door, still closed, but this time there were scratch marks on it. Tiny ones, like fingernails. I asked Emma if she remembered touching it. She didn't answer. Just walked back into the bedroom and closed the door without saying a word. I started keeping a journal after that, documenting everything. Day by day, entry 1, door is still locked. No light underneath. No air movement. Entry 2. Emma stood in front of it for 12 minutes last night. Didn't move. Eyes open. Entry 3. Found baby powder footprints in the hallway. Too small to be ours. That was the night I heard the lullaby coming from inside the walls. A few days later, I came home early. Emma wasn't in the bedroom. I found her upstairs, kneeling in front of the door, whispering, "It's okay now. I'm here. I know you're cold." There was a key in her hand, an old one, rusted, ornate, but it fit, and she was about to turn it. I grabbed it from her before she could. Her eyes went wild, not angry, not scared, just confused like I'd interrupted something intimate. She screamed, ran downstairs, locked herself in the guest room for hours. When I checked her nightstand later, the key was gone. The next night I woke up and the door was open, just a crack, a soft, cold breeze coming from inside and the sound of a mobile spinning, slowly, click, click, click. I should have closed it. I should have shut the door the second I saw it cracked open. But I stepped closer instead. Inside, the air was cold, stale, heavy with dust and something else, and something faintly sweet. Like rotting flowers, it was a nursery, a crib, rocking chair, an old baby monitor plugged into the wall but not connected to anything. The walls were yellowed, peeling, faded wallpaper with dancing bears and half-erased stars, and in the center of the room on the floor, a circle of tiny toys, worn, dirty, like they'd been played with by something long ago or... Recently, I didn't go in, just stood there staring, every part of me screaming not to move. The crib creaked suddenly, empty. Just a blanket folded neatly inside, but I could feel it. Something was in that room with me, something watching. I closed the door, locked it again, pushed the bookcase back, didn't tell Emma, but that night I woke up and she was gone. Again. I found her in the nursery, door wide open, toys scattered. She was sitting in the rocking chair, humming that same slow, broken lullaby. I touched her shoulder. She said without turning around, "She's finally sleeping." We left the house the next day. I booked a hotel, told her we needed space. Time away, she didn't argue. Didn't say a word the whole drive, but that night she got up again. Walked out the hotel room door. I followed her into the parking lot. She was just standing there, staring into the back seat of our car, whispering, "Don't cry, Mama's right here." I checked the nursery again the next morning. The crib was gone. So was the chair. So was the dust. The room looked new, like it had just been painted. But on the far wall, written in crayon, were the words, "You took her away again. Emma's getting worse. She talks to someone when she thinks I'm not listening. Sings to empty corners. Asks me to buy diapers. She doesn't remember the miscarriage. She keeps calling herself Mommy. She said the name Clara the other night. We'd never picked a name. Never even talked about it. I asked her where she heard it. She said, she told me. When I asked who she meant, she just stared at me and smiled. I set up a camera outside the nursery. I had to know. That night, the door opened on its own. At 3:11 a.m., the mobile spun. The toys rattled, and something stepped into view, just a shadow. Small, child-sized, but it moved wrong. Like the joints were reversed, it crawled to the crib and curled up. I watched for hours. It never left. We moved out 3 days ago. Took what we could fit in the car. Drove across the state, new place, no stairs. No nursery. Emma seemed better. Until last night. When I heard the lullaby again. Coming from the baby monitor we never unpacked. I don't know how to stop this. Every night, she gets a little stronger. Emma's pregnant now. She didn't tell me. I found the test in the trash, but she's been talking to the nursery again, the one we don't have. She whispered to me in her sleep just now. "You can't take her away this time." The first time I heard the voice, I thought it was the radio. I was up late working in the garage, tuning an old AM band for background noise. Static crackles, the occasional preacher or trucker echoing through like ghosts. Then I heard a kid's voice. Soft, whispering. "Let me out." Came through clear as day. One sentence, then silence. I froze. Turned the knob. Back to static. I didn't sleep much that night. We'd only lived in the house 3 weeks. A one-story ranch with low ceilings and an ugly chain-link fence, but it had a yard. And it was ours. Me, my wife Jess, and our 5-year-old son, Milo. First home after years of renting, saving, scraping. Built in the late 70s with creaky pipes and drafty windows. I knew it needed work. I didn't know it came with voices. The crawlspace access was in the hallway closet. A thin plywood panel set into the floor. I hadn't opened it yet, no reason to, until that voice came back the next night, 4 a.m. This time I wasn't even in the garage. I was in bed. Jess asleep. Milo curled up in his room down the hall. "Let me out." It came from beneath the floorboards. I got up slowly, checked the baby monitor. Nothing. Milo was out cold. I stood in the hallway, barefoot on the cold laminate. Silence. Then, tap, 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 right under my feet. Next morning, I pried up the crawlspace cover. A rush of cold air hit me. It smelled like dust and dirt and something older. I shined a flashlight down into the crawl. The light caught on a few things. Fiberglass insulation, sagging in strips, a couple tools from previous owners, and in the far corner, A child's shoe, I don't mean a new one. I mean cracked leather, torn sole, half buried in dirt. I picked it up. It was tiny, maybe toddler size. I didn't show Jess. I told myself it was left behind by some previous family. Probably nothing. But that night I left my phone recording on the floor next to the crawl space. Just to prove to myself there was nothing there. When I played it back the next morning, the first 20 minutes were normal. Then faintly, a child's voice, "Are you my dad?" I didn't tell Jess. I didn't want to scare her. But I started noticing changes in Milo. He was quieter, would stop mid-play and stare at the floor for minutes. Once, I found him whispering to the heating vent. I asked what he was doing. He said, "My friend's cold." That night, Jess finally heard it too. We were watching TV when the sound came from the vent by the couch. A whisper. "Let me out. Please." She looked at me, pale. That wasn't the TV, right? I shook my head. We both leaned in, listened. Nothing. Until, "Don't leave me down here again." I finally told her about the shoe, the recordings, the tapping. She wanted to call someone, a priest, a psychic, whatever. I said no, I needed to know what this was. I needed proof. So I geared up. Gloves, flashlight, crawled into the tight, freezing dark under our house. The air was stale. My elbows scraped against beams. Spiderwebs clung to my face. I crawled toward the corner where I found the shoe, swept the dirt with a small hand broom. That's when I found the bones, not a full skeleton, just a few fragments. A tiny femur, maybe a jaw. They were buried shallow, wrapped in an old t-shirt stained dark brown, and stitched into the fabric in faded blue thread was the name, Eli. I backed out in a panic, showed Jess. She cried. Milo kept asking, "Why are you sad?" We called the police. They sent a forensic team, confirmed the bones were human. Likely over 30 years old, no dental records matched. Case went cold, but the voice didn't stop. After the police left, Milo started saying weird things. Eli wants to come upstairs now. He said this used to be his room. He misses his mom. We asked where he learned the name. He said, "He told me. I set up another recorder. Left it running all night next to Milo's bed." At 2:11 a.m. there was a voice. Faint, breathy. "I don't like you." I confronted Milo gently, asked if he was making up stories. He just shook his head. "He's angry at you. You locked him under there again." "I didn't lock anyone. He said you did. You left him down there to die." That was the first night Milo screamed in his sleep. When I ran in, he was sitting up, eyes wide open, just screaming. He wouldn't stop, wouldn't speak. He just pointed at the floor, at the vent. That was also the first night we heard footsteps in the crawl space. Slow, dragging, like something crawling the length of the house. Jess didn't sleep. Neither did I. When we checked the vent in the morning, there were tiny fingerprints on the inside grate, and a single word, written in the dust. Dad. We sealed the vent that night, screwed a metal plate over it, taped the edges, anything to block the space between our lives and whatever was under us. It didn't work. At 3:09 a.m., we heard knocking again. Not tapping, knocking, heavy, angry, directly beneath Milo's room. 3 bangs. Pause. Then again, Jess whispered, "He's going to come up anyway." I asked what she meant. She wouldn't answer. I decided we needed to leave. I told Jess we'd go to her sister's place for a few days, clear our heads. She packed quickly. Too quickly, like she'd been waiting for me to say it. Milo didn't speak the whole ride. Just sat in the back seat staring out the window, humming to himself. I recognized the tune, a lullaby I didn't know I knew. We stayed 3 nights. It was quiet. No whispers, no footsteps. But on the 4th morning, I found Milo sitting on the guest room floor, drawing. He'd drawn our house, with a black scribble under it, a figure, curled up in the dark. When I asked who it was, he said, "Eli's mad because we left him." I broke. I told Jess I needed to go back alone, just for a night, just to prove to myself it was in our heads. I left them at her sister's and drove back to the house around dusk. It felt colder than I remembered. The air inside was heavy, still, like the house had been holding its breath. I made my way to the crawlspace hatch, pulled it open, shined the flashlight. There were new footprints in the dirt. small, bare, leading from one end of the crawl space to the other, and carved into the beam above the opening. Letters, crude and jagged. "Why did you lock me down here?" I crawled inside. I don't know why. I think part of me needed to. The flashlight flickered. I kept crawling. The temperature dropped with every foot I moved. My breath came out in clouds. Then I saw him, a shape in the corner, small, motionless. First I thought it was another bundle of fabric. Then it moved. He didn't speak, but I heard him, a whisper inside my skull. Like thoughts that weren't mine, "You replaced me." "He's in my room." "You're not my dad." I backed out fast, heart in my throat, closed the hatch. As I was screwing it shut, something pushed from the inside, not a little push, a violent, desperate shove. The whole hatch jumped up against my hands. I pushed down with all my weight, screwed the last bolt in. Then I ran. I stayed in a motel that night. I couldn't go back to Jess and Milo. Not yet. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the shape, heard the voice. "You buried me. You forgot me. You let me die." When I finally got back to them the next day, Milo was different, colder, quieter. He barely looked at me. Jess pulled me aside and whispered, "He says you're not his dad anymore." That night, Milo crawled into our bed, something he hadn't done since he was a toddler. His skin was cold. He didn't speak. At 3:11 a.m., I woke up to find him sitting up, just staring at me. Then he leaned in, inches from my ear, and whispered. I let him in. The power went out. The house went silent. Then we heard it. Footsteps upstairs, but no one else was home. I grabbed Milo and Jess and shoved them into the car. Didn't pack. Didn't lock the doors. We just left. We've been staying with friends across the state. I told them we were robbed, that someone broke in. But every night the baby monitor we took with us turns on by itself. And we hear it. Scratching. Whispers. Breathing. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name. Inside, a crayon drawing, Milo, me, Jess, and a fourth figure smiling, standing in the crawl space. On the back, a single sentence written in a child's handwriting. You forgot me once. You don't get to forget me again. Jess wants to burn the house, sell the land. Move far away. I'm starting to think it won't matter. Because last night, Milo looked me dead in the eyes and said, I can't hear Eli anymore. He's inside now. The chair was already in the house when we moved in. One of those old-timey rockers, high back, deep wood grain. The kind of thing you'd find in a grandmother's living room. It sat in the corner of the upstairs den when we did the walkthrough. No one said anything about it. Not the realtor, not the previous owners. Just a dusty old chair tucked into shadow. We didn't move it. Didn't think to. It felt rooted there. Like it belonged more than we did. We'd only just started over. Me and my daughter Lily, she's 5. Smart, shy, still carrying more grief than she understands. My wife, her mom, passed 8 months before the move. Sudden, fast, nothing you prepare for. The new house was meant to be a reset. Clean slate. But sometimes I wonder if the house picked us. Lily found the chair her first day. I was unpacking kitchen boxes when I heard her voice upstairs. Soft and curious. I found her standing in front of it, staring up like she was watching someone sit there. I asked what she was doing. She said, talking to the lady. That night she asked if we could leave the den door open. I asked why. She said, so the lady in the chair doesn't feel lonely. I didn't sleep much after that. At first I chalked it up to imagination. Lily had always made up stories, invented invisible friends, but something about the way she looked at that chair, careful, quiet like she didn't want to disturb whoever was there, made it feel different, not playful, not pretend, respectful, like she was in the presence of someone she didn't want to upset. The next few nights, Lily started sitting in the chair before bed. Just for a minute or two, she'd whisper quietly, smile, sometimes cry. I asked what she was saying. She told me, the lady tells me Mommy misses me too. That hit harder than I expected. I asked her to stop playing in the chair. She nodded. But the next morning, there she was again and curled up in it, humming something soft and off-key. I started checking the chair at night, just looking at it, Sometimes it would be slightly turned, rocking faintly. Once I found Lily's stuffed bunny sitting in it, perfectly centered like someone had placed it there gently. When I asked Lily, she said, "The lady tucked him in because I was sad." A week later, I heard the chair creak around midnight. I got up, quietly walked upstairs. The den was cold, windows closed. No breeze, but the chair was rocking, slowly, steadily. I stood there in the doorway, watching it move on its own. The sound of old wood groaning filled the room, and then it stopped. Dead still, like it knew I was there. I moved the chair into the attic the next day. Told Lily it was time to focus on new memories. She screamed. Not cried and screamed, like I'd taken something sacred. That night she wouldn't eat, wouldn't talk, just sat in the corner of her room facing the wall, whispering. Around 2 a.m. I woke up to footsteps above me, heavy, slow, coming from the attic. I didn't move, just lay there frozen, eyes on the ceiling. Then I heard the chair creak again. 1, 2, 3 rocks, then silence. I nailed the attic door shut the next morning. Didn't tell Lily. That evening, she asked me if the lady was mad. I asked what she meant. She said, "She doesn't like being alone again." That night, Lily stood next to my bed at 3:13 a.m. Her eyes were wide open, unfocused. She said, "She wants to come back downstairs," then turned around and walked out before I could speak. I found the chair in the den the next morning, same spot, same position, dust wiped clean, like it had never been moved. I didn't carry the chair back downstairs. I couldn't. The attic door was still nailed shut, no footprints, no scuff marks, no sign it had ever been moved. And yet there it was, sitting right where it used to be. Still, waiting. I stood there staring at it for a long time. It felt like it was daring me to touch it. That night, Lily smiled again for the first time in days. "See? She came back," she said. I asked her what they talked about. She told me not to be scared anymore, that she'll always be here. "Even when you're gone," I tried to correct her, gently. "I'm not going anywhere, baby." Lily just looked at me and said, "That's what Mommy said too." The next morning, I found muddy footprints on the stairs, small, barefoot, but Lily's feet were clean. So were mine, and there was no mud outside. No rain. No reason. I stayed home from work that week. I needed to understand what was happening. I set up a motion camera in the den. A cheap baby monitor pointed straight at the chair. I told Lily it was to protect her special friend. That night, at exactly 2:59 a.m., the feed glitched. The screen went black for 5 seconds. When it came back, the chair was rocking just slightly, and in the bottom corner of the screen, you could see Lily standing in the hallway, watching, but the next frame showed something else. A hand, thin, wrinkled, bone white, gripping the armrest just for a second, then gone. The following night, I locked Lily's door before bed, sat up watching the monitor with headphones in, heart pounding. At 3 a.m., the rocking started again. Then a voice, barely audible, like a whisper through thick static. "She belongs with me now." I slammed the den door shut and dragged the chair outside, tossed it into the backyard and poured gasoline over it. I lit the match with shaking hands. It didn't catch right away. The flame kept dying, like the chair wouldn't burn. Finally, it ignited. I watched the wood blacken and twist. The arms curled inward. The fire hissed. For a moment I thought I heard screaming, but it wasn't coming from the fire. It was coming from Lily's room. I ran inside, found her curled up on the floor sobbing. "She's mad," she said. "She said you ruined everything." The next morning the chair was back in the den, unburned, exactly where it had always been. That was the last time Lily spoke to me for 3 days. She stopped eating. Wouldn't leave her room. I called her pediatrician, scheduled a therapist. Nothing helped. Then just as suddenly she came out for breakfast one morning, smiling, calm. "I'm okay now," she said. She forgave me. I asked who. Lily tilted her head and said, "The lady in the chair. You should sit with her. She wants to talk to you." That night, the baby monitor turned on by itself, not Lily's voice, someone older, raspy. I took her pain. "I can take yours too." I sat across from the chair, just to look, just to listen. The room grew cold. My fingers went numb, the shadows deepened, and in the silence I felt her, sitting across from me, breathing, watching. I didn't see her. Not fully. Just a shape. A weight in the air, then she spoke. "Grief is a wound that makes room for me." I stood up, backed out, closed the den door. I told Lily we were moving. That this house wasn't good for us, she cried. "She needs me." She said, "You're trying to take me away like you took Mommy." I packed anyway, called in favors, found a short-term rental across town. But on our last night in the house, the chair was gone, just vanished. The movers didn't take it. I didn't touch it. But it wasn't in the den, not in the attic. Not anywhere. I didn't care. I was just glad it was gone. The new place was quiet. Fresh walls, new smells, clean air. Lily seemed better, less tired, less haunted. Until I picked her up from school a few weeks later. She came out smiling, skipping. "I made a new friend," she said. "That's great," I told her. "She has a new chair," she whispered. She brought it with her. I asked what she meant. She just said, "She missed me." That night I found a drawing on Lily's nightstand, 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, both sitting in chairs. In the corner, a third figure, solid black, no face above it in shaky block letters. "Her chair never burns." I checked every room in the house, nothing, no rocking, no voices, until I turned off the lights and heard wood creak 3 times from the corner of Lily's room, where the shadows were deepest. The first time the house said, "Welcome home, Adam," I thought it was a mistake. My name isn't Adam. It was the smart assistant, some AI home system baked into the walls, installed by the previous owners. The listing made it sound like a selling point. Integrated security, lighting, climate, even voice detection. Felt fancy. Until it got personal. I walked in that night with groceries in hand, and the voice chirped from the kitchen ceiling speaker. "Welcome home?" Adam, cheerful, warm, robotic. I froze in the doorway. "Sorry," I said out loud. "My name's Nolan." No response, just the soft hum of the fridge kicking on. I figured it was just an old preset. Some tech holdover I hadn't reset. Later that night, I dug through the control tablet mounted in the hallway. The previous profile had been wiped. Only mine was listed, and yet, every time I came home, "Welcome home, Adam." By the end of the week, it wasn't just the greeting. The lights started turning on before I touched a switch, but not where I was going. I'd head into the kitchen. The hallway light would flick on instead, go into the bedroom, and the closet would light up across the house. Like the system expected someone else's routine, someone who wasn't me. Then there were the locks. Twice I woke up and the front door was unlocked. I checked the logs. No entries, no errors, nothing. The system said the door had never been opened, except it was. Wide open. The weirdest part? I started feeling like I was being watched, not paranoia. Just this leak pressure, like eyes in every corner. The cameras were off. I disabled them on day 1. I don't trust that kind of surveillance, but every now and then, the hallway tablet would blink, just once. Then go dark, week 2. I noticed something small, but wrong. The bathroom mirror, fogged up from the shower, had a message traced into it. Adam's room, right above the sink. Hadn't written that. "I live alone." I searched the entire house that day. Every drawer, every closet. Checked for hidden cams, motion sensors, anything. Nothing, except for one thing I hadn't noticed before. In the garage, behind an old shelf, a second breaker box, not listed on the blueprint. Inside, a disconnected panel labeled "Private Line, Basement." I don't have a basement. That night, I dug around outside. Flashlight in one hand, crowbar in the other. Behind the house, under a patch of old sod, I found a door, metal, rusted, padlocked, buried flat in the earth. I didn't open it. Not yet. I needed to know more first. Back inside, I pulled up the archived footage from before I moved in. Turns out, the previous owner never deleted anything. The system logs dated back years, hours and hours of Adam, mid-30s, quiet, solitary, going through his daily routines, except toward the end, he stopped leaving the house. For 2 weeks straight, he didn't go outside once. Then on the final entry, he stood in the hallway, stared at the camera for almost 10 minutes. Didn't speak. Didn't blink, just stared, until the lights cut out and the screen went black. I closed the tablet. Heart pounding. I tried to sleep that night. Couldn't. At 2:17 a.m., the speaker crackled to life. That same voice, robotic, cheerful, spoke softly from the corner of my room. "Welcome home, Adam. It's safe now." I didn't move, just lay there in the dark, blanket pulled up to my chest, listening. The voice didn't speak again. No breathing, no sound, just silence, until the lights in the hallway blinked on one by one, leading to the front door, like someone had just come in. I sat up slowly, heart hammering. Pulled the hallway tablet off its mount. No entries, no logs, no footage. But the system had changed. My profile, Nolan, was gone. Replaced with one word: Adam. I reset the whole system. Factory restore. Passwords, permissions, everything took hours. When it finished, the house felt empty. For a while. Quiet in a way it hadn't since I moved in. But the next morning, my coffee machine turned on by itself. The radio in the kitchen clicked on to a station I'd never heard before. Jazz. Muffled like it was coming from inside a wall. And when I opened the fridge, a sticky note sat on the top shelf. In my handwriting. "Don't go back down." I never wrote that note, and I'd never been down. Not yet. But something wanted to make sure I didn't. Which meant, of course I had to. I bought bolt cutters the next day, waited until nightfall. The door behind the house, the one buried under sod, opened easier than I thought it would. The metal creaked like a scream, and a damp, moldy breath of air spilled out from below. Concrete steps led down into pitch black. No lights, no handrail, just an old cable snaking along the wall, clipped into rusted mounts. I went down with a headlamp and a flashlight. Felt like I descended forever. 30 steps? Maybe more. The air was heavy, wet, like being inside someone's lungs. At the bottom, a single hallway, long, narrow, walls covered in peeling foam insulation, and a door at the far end. Not wood, not metal glass frosted with one word etched into it: private. I reached for the handle, my hand hovered there. The flashlight buzzed in my grip. I opened it. Inside was a room, bright, clean, completely white. A bed, a chair, a table, and a smart panel, just like the one upstairs. Everything covered in a layer of dust, except the chair. The chair was clean, like someone had just been sitting there. I stepped in. Looked around, there were no windows, no vents, just the faint, low hum of electricity in the walls. I walked to the panel, tapped the screen. It lit up. 2 profiles appeared. Adam Nolan, my thumb hovered over my name. Then something else popped up on screen. Sensing profile, Adam. I backed out, ran up the stairs, slipped, caught myself. Slid the hatch closed, locked it, buried it again. That night, I heard the voice in every room. It came through the walls, the vents, the outlets, not loud. Not aggressive, just persistent. "You've been gone a long time, Adam. It's okay to come back now. We've kept it just the way you like it." The hallway tablet, rebooted by itself. New wallpaper, a photo of me, standing, in the living room, smiling, but I don't remember posing for it, and in the reflection of the TV behind me, I saw someone else, same build, same clothes, but not me. I tried to leave. Packed a bag, keys in hand, but the front door wouldn't open. Deadbolt disengaged. Mechanism clear, still wouldn't move, like it had fused shut. I went to the back door, gone. Just smooth drywall. Then I noticed the clocks. Every single one was stuck at 3:47 a.m., no ticking. No blinking, the stove, the microwave, the phone, even my watch. The system voice came back. This time from the bedroom speaker. "There is no Nolan here." I lost time after that. Days? A week? I don't know. The lights stayed on constantly. The fridge restocked itself. My clothes were always folded. Every time I sat in the chair by the window, I'd wake up in the white room, just for a second. Then back again, like it was phasing in. I tried breaking things. The windows wouldn't shatter, the mirrors just absorbed the blows, and always, always the voice. "You're safe now. Just be Adam again. You were happier that way. Last night, I woke up on the floor, naked, shivering, covered in white dust. The walls were humming. The floor under me pulsed, and on the hallway tablet, a new message. Welcome home. Adam, profile restored. I'm not sure who I am anymore. The mirrors show a version of me I don't recognize, smiling when I'm not. Blinking late, tilting its head like it's studying me. I stopped fighting today, sat in the chair, said, I'm home, and the house purred with relief. Every light warmed, every lock clicked open, but I didn't move. I didn't want to, because deep down, I think this house really does know me. Maybe it always did. Maybe I never left. The wallpaper started peeling the second week we moved in. Just a little at first, a loose corner in the upstairs hallway. We figured it was the moisture. The house was old. The insulation sucked, and the previous owners had sealed the walls like they were preserving a tomb. We didn't think it was a big deal. We were planning to renovate anyway. But by the third night, the peeling had patterns. Long, curling strips always in the same spot, always overnight. I'd smooth it down before bed, and by morning, it would be loose again. Only now there were scratches under it like someone had clawed outward from behind the wall. We bought the place in October. A half-price deal on a 3-bedroom fixer-upper with overgrown ivy, creaky stairs, and water stains that refused to die. The realtor called it full of character. I call it full of secrets. My girlfriend Leah and I thought we were ready. First house. Our house. We were going to paint, fix up the floors, make it ours. We weren't ready. The first real warning was the smell. Rotting paper, moldy paste. It would creep into the hall around 3 a.m., sharp, sour, earthy. We bleached the wall, sanded it down, reapplied sealant. But every night the same strip peeled again, same shape, same angle, like the house was undoing our work on purpose. One night, Leah was the first to notice something beneath it. Do you see that? She whispered, pointing with the edge of her paint scraper. I knelt down, peeled it back slowly. There were lines carved into the drywall, not cracks, deliberate, precise, etched words. The only one we could read clearly. Run. We both laughed it off nervously. Haunted house cliché, right? Probably some old joke. But the next night, the same word was on the bathroom wall. New spot. Fresh peel. Same scratch marks. Run. I tried to cover it. Used industrial primer. Repapered with heavy adhesive. It held until 2:12 a.m. Then we heard it. The sound of tearing. From inside the walls. Like fingers dragging downward. Rip. 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 We followed the noise to the guest bedroom. The entire north wall had peeled. Not randomly. Not in chaos. Clean vertical strips, perfectly spaced. And behind them, dozens of tiny handprints pressed into the plaster. Some the size of a toddler's. Others too small to be human. That was the night we decided to sleep downstairs. But the peeling followed. Next, the living room. Then the kitchen. It was like the house was breathing through the walls, exhaling layers. And underneath each peeled section, there were more messages. Stop covering me. It hurts. You're waking her up. Leah stopped sleeping. She said the walls whispered when I wasn't home. Said she saw things move behind the paper. Like something shifting, she told me. Like the house is hiding its skin. I didn't believe. Her wrist not at first until the night I watched the wallpaper move on its own, just a ripple, from one corner to the other, like something crawled underneath it. I grabbed my box cutter, peeled back the sheet. There was nothing, just fresh scratch marks. Deeper this time. A single phrase etched in a childlike scrawl. She sees you now. I didn't tell Leah what it said. I just stood there in the half-lit hallway, razor still in my hand, staring at the words carved so deep they bled into the studs. She sees you now. I remember thinking, she? Who the hell is she? We stopped sleeping upstairs after that. Started crashing on the couch, TV playing quietly all night just so we didn't feel like we were drowning in silence. The house creaked differently now. Not just old wood shifting, but movements, pacing, tapping, sometimes scratching, always from behind the walls. Leah stopped speaking much. She started carrying her phone everywhere. flashlight always ready, wouldn't let her back touch a wall. One morning she showed me her arm. 5 thin red scratches ran down her forearm. "I didn't do this," she whispered. "It happened while I was sleeping." I asked if she was sure. She just looked at me and said she doesn't like me. We called a contractor to inspect the interior walls. Told him we thought we had mice, maybe even raccoons. He opened 3 sections of drywall. All he found was emptiness. No insulation, no nests, no pipes, just hollow space. And an old nail, rusted black, sticking straight out of a stud. We didn't hire him back. The next day, more messages appeared. This time above the front door, carved into the plaster beneath a peeled strip, barely legible. "Don't let her out." We tried to sleep that night. Tried to pretend we hadn't read it. At 3 a.m., every light in the house flickered off at once, then we heard it. Not the peeling, not the scratching, breathing, coming from the walls. From all the walls, shallow, wet, like someone gasping through paper. And with it, a slow, rhythmic creak, like floorboards rocking back and forth, like someone swaying in place. Leah begged to leave the next day. I told her we just needed a break. I booked us a hotel across town. We packed 1 bag. But when we reached the front door, it was covered, floor to ceiling, wallpaper, brand, new seamless. It hadn't been there the night before. We tried the back door, same thing, all the windows were sealed. With thick layers of that same floral pattern, old, yellowed, but strong. I tried to tear it. It wouldn't rip. It felt like skin. We were trapped. The thermostat stopped working. The house got cold, then hot, then humid, like it was testing us. That night, Leah whispered, "She's in the walls." I asked who. She said, "I think she used to live here. I think they buried her behind the wallpaper." I asked how she knew. She lifted her shirt. Her ribs were bruised, long, straight vertical marks, like fingers had pressed from inside the wall, reaching through. She said they touched her while I was in the shower. Said she couldn't breathe. I broke down the door the next morning. I tore through the paper with my bare hands, ripping strips off until my fingers bled. The door was still there, warped old wood, but behind the wallpaper, someone had written a message in charcoal across the panels. "She's already in the house, I got us out." Kicked through the bottom of the door. We left everything behind. Clothes, furniture, photos, even the house keys. Leah didn't speak for the entire drive. She just kept touching her arms, like she could still feel something crawling over her. That night, at the motel, I checked my back in the mirror. There were 4 perfect handprints pressed into my skin like heat. 1 on each shoulder, 1 on my spine, 1 just below the base of my skull. We never went back. The house sold again a month later. Some young couple, excited about renovations. I saw the listing photos online. All fresh paint, clean walls, new floors except in 1 photo, the one of the hallway, just barely visible. Under the new wallpaper, a small strip, peeling, and underneath, the start of a word. S, like the house was already beginning again. The backyard lights started flickering the week after we moved in. Motion sensor floodlights, one mounted above the back porch, the other near the fence line. At first, we thought it was a wiring issue. Maybe a squirrel tripping the beam. Old house. Bad sensors, but the flickering didn't stop. It only happened at night. Always around the same time, 2:08 a.m. every single night. The first time I got up to check, the yard was empty. I stood at the window, bleary-eyed, watching the light pulse like it was trying to signal something. On, off, pause. On, off again. Nothing moved. The grass didn't rustle. The trees were still, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there, watching. My wife, Cam, didn't believe me at first. She said I was stressing over the move until she saw it herself. We were lying in bed when the porch light clicked on. We both sat up. A second later, the fence light followed. Not together. Not random. One after the other, perfectly timed like footsteps. I went out with a flashlight and checked the yard. Nothing. No animals. No footprints. No wind. But the sensor logs showed something had moved, something tall, something the system labeled human height. We bought the house for the yard. Big, flat fenced. Cam wanted to garden. I wanted space to build a little studio. It felt private, safe. Now it felt like a stage, like something was waiting just beyond the reach of the light. Cam started closing all the curtains before bed. Said she felt exposed, like the house wasn't ours anymore. One night she said, "I don't think it's the yard." I asked what she meant. She looked at me and whispered, "I think it's the lights." The next night, the pattern changed. Instead of 1, 2, it went 1, pause, 1 porch, fence, 3 cycles. Then dark. Exactly 2 minutes later, it repeated. I recorded it on my phone, played it back over and over. It wasn't random. It was rhythmic, intentional. I tried calling the electrician who installed the system. He checked the wiring, replaced a sensor, said everything was clean. That night, the pattern returned. But this time, the lights didn't shut off right away. They stayed on frozen casting. Long shadows across the yard, and like something was standing just outside the camera's field of view. Cam wouldn't go near the windows anymore. She said the light makes them look back. Asked who they were, she said, "Whatever lives between the flashes." I set up motion cameras. 3 of them. Each pointed at a different angle of the yard. The next morning, the files were corrupted, not just blank. Glitched, warped colors, sharp static, strange distortions. In one frame, just one, I saw a figure. Tall, thin, no features, just standing still behind the fence. And in the next frame, gone. That night, I woke up at 2:08 a.m., not because of the lights, because the bedroom door creaked open. I sat up, and every light in the house flickered once. Even the ones that aren't motion activated, even the ones I turned off at the breaker. I found Cam downstairs sitting in the dark, staring out the back window. The lights blinked again. Porch, fence, porch, fence. But now, she was mouthing something. No sound, just her lips moving. I leaned closer. She was counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, over and over. She wouldn't stop counting. Cam just sat there in the dark, her eyes locked on the backyard. Every time the lights blinked, porch, fence, her voice stayed perfectly in rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. I touched her shoulder. She flinched hard and gasped like I'd woken her from a nightmare. She looked at me like I was a stranger. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. I didn't answer. I swear I didn't answer this time. We left the window covered after that. Blackout curtains, masking tape around the edges. I even shut off the floodlights from the main circuit. That night, the lights still came on, even with the system dead, even with no power. They clicked on at 2 a.m. and off, and on and off. I unplugged everything the next day. When I pulled the plug on the back porch sensor, it buzzed in my hand like it was still on, like it was alive. I started having dreams. I was standing in the yard, barefoot, staring at the lights. Behind them, the dark stretched out like an ocean. I couldn't see what was out there, but I knew something was watching, waiting for me to blink. Cam was getting worse. She talked less. Stopped eating much. Just stood in corners with the lights off, whispering to herself. One night, I found her in the garage, all the lights out, sitting cross-legged in front of the fuse box, staring at it. "Light is a question," she said. "And they're waiting for the answer." I asked who they were. She said, "They're not from outside. They're from between." I found notebooks under the bed, filled with symbols, timelines, drawings of lights blinking in sequence, like a Morse code she was trying to translate. Some pages just had a single phrase, written over and over. "They remember who you were." I couldn't take it anymore. I smashed the porch lights with a hammer, ripped the fence sensor out of the wood, cut every wire, buried the cameras. I even moved our bed to the front of the house, away from the windows. Away from the yard. It didn't work. At 2:08 a.m. that night, the light from the sky blinked. Just once. Like the moon dimmed and came back on. And from outside the window, not the backyard, but the front this time, we heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate, across the porch, stopping right outside the door. Then, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. No one was there. but the light above the porch blinked twice and my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown. Number no message. Just the timestamp. 2:08 a.m. Cam left a note the next morning. One line. If the lights stop, it means they're inside. She was gone. No sign of a struggle. Her phone, keys, clothes. All still in the house. Just the front door, unlocked. And every single light bulb in the house. Removed, neatly, gently. Piled in the kitchen sink like eggshells. I filed a report. Gave a statement. Police chalked it up to a mental health break. Said she probably wandered off. But they didn't see what I saw when I checked the backyard camera. The only one I never buried. At 2:08 a.m., Cam was standing in the middle of the lawn, head tilted back. Arms at her sides and the lights blinked all around her. Porch, fence, faster than ever. Until they didn't blink at all. Until they stayed off. And when the screen went dark, something stepped toward her just outside, the edge of the frame. I've been alone in the house for a week now. The lights don't flicker anymore, they don't blink. Because they don't need to. I've started waking up with dirt under my nails, grass in my sheets. Once, I found a dead moth in my mouth, and tonight at 2:08 a.m., every bulb in the house turned on at once, even the ones I threw away, even the ones I smashed. I rent out the extra room in my house. It's not fancy, 10 by 10, small closet, no TV, shared bathroom, but the rent's cheap. That's what draws them in. His name was Eric. Late 20s, thin, polite, paid 2 months in cash up front, didn't ask for much, just one rule. Please don't go in my room. Ever. I told him, that's fine. I respect privacy. I meant it, at the time. The first month was quiet. Almost too quiet. Eric barely left his room. I'd see him in the kitchen maybe once a day, late at night, heating up soup or pouring cereal, always barefoot. Always quiet, never made small talk, never watched TV, never used the living room. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Some people are just private. But then I started noticing little things. My bathroom towel's always slightly damp, even when I hadn't showered. Silverware moved around. Not missing, just wrong. The front door unlocked in the morning even when I knew I'd bolted it the night before. Then there was the smell. It started around week 5. Something faint, sour, like bleach and wet laundry left too long, coming from under his door. I asked him once casually, "Hey, is everything okay in there? Just smells a little off." He opened the door an inch, enough to speak through the crack. "Cleaning supplies," he said. "Sorry, that was it. Door closed." Lock clicked. I didn't push, but I started watching more closely. His footsteps were odd, slow, shuffled like he was dragging something behind him. One night, I heard him whispering. Not to me. Not loud enough to make out. Just low, steady murmurs, like he was talking to someone who never replied. Week 7 is when I found the hair in the dryer filter. Long, black, tangled. I have short hair. Eric shaves his head. This didn't belong to either of us. I knocked on his door that night. No answer. I knocked. Again. Nothing. I was about to walk away when I heard a voice from inside, a woman's voice, soft, gentle. Think he knows. I stepped back, heart racing. The door stayed closed. The next morning, Eric acted normal. If anything, friendlier. "Sorry about the noise last night," he said. "I talk in my sleep sometimes." I didn't mention the woman's voice, but I knew what I heard. The next day, he didn't leave his room at all. No footsteps. No microwave. Total silence. That night, around 3:00 a.m., I heard the floorboards creak. I got out of bed quietly, peered into the hallway. His door was open an inch, just enough to see darkness inside and the sound of breathing, but not like one person. 2. I should have moved out that night. Or kicked him out. Something. Instead, I just stood there, frozen in the dark hallway, watching that sliver of black space behind his half-open door. The breathing was slow, rhythmic, and I swear, 2 people. One shallow, one deeper. Then the door creaked slowly shut on its own. No footsteps, no sound of movement. Just the door gliding closed like someone gently pushed it, click locked. The next morning I waited. Sat in the kitchen with coffee long gone cold, listening. Nothing. His door didn't open. No breakfast. No bathroom, no shuffling feet or kettle boiling, just silence. Around 10:30, I finally knocked, lightly at first, then again harder. "Eric, everything okay?" Nothing. I pressed my ear to the door. The silence was loud. Stale air like a room that hadn't been opened in weeks, and then a whisper. Right at the crack of the door, not a full sentence. Not even a full word, just a sound. Shh. That night, I tried to sleep with a chair under my doorknob. The hallway creaked around 2 a.m., then again at 2:47. Each time, I held my breath, heart thudding, staring at the crack beneath the door for any sign of light or movement. But nothing came in. Nothing ever came in. By week 8, I'd stopped trying to be polite. I started watching, listening. When I left for work, I'd press a piece of scotch tape along the edge of his door, invisible unless you knew to look for it. When I came home, every single time it was broken. Someone was going in and out, but not when I was awake, not when I could see. Then came the smell again. Stronger this time, sour rotting fabric, the faintest trace of copper. I opened the hall window, sprayed Febreze, lit candles. Nothing helped. I started getting headaches, pressure behind the eyes, and when I walked past his door, the hallway felt warmer, like the air inside was alive. That weekend, I tried to peek while he was out. I watched through the peephole for over an hour before the door opened. Eric stepped out slowly, locked up, and walked off down the street without even glancing around. I waited 5 minutes, slipped into the hallway. The lock was old. I'd never touched it before, but I had a paperclip and time. The door opened faster than I expected, and what I saw didn't make sense. The room wasn't messy. It was empty, no bed, no desk, no dresser, just a folding chair, a thick rug, and taped garbage bags covering every inch of the window. No light came in. No light went out. But that wasn't the worst part. What made me stop breathing was the walls. They were covered in photographs. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Every one of me. Sleeping, brushing my teeth, watching TV, sitting on the porch. Some from inside the house, some from outside my bedroom door, and in every photo Eric wasn't in the frame. But there was someone else. Always blurred, sometimes just a hand, or a dark outline, always right behind me. I backed out, closed the door, sat on the floor shaking for a full 10 minutes. Then I called the cops, didn't care if it broke the lease. I needed someone else to see what I saw. They came in 20 minutes, I let them in. Told them everything. They knocked on Eric's door. No answer. They opened it. It was empty. Totally, completely empty. No photos, no rug, no garbage bags. Just blank walls and dust outlines where furniture had once been, like he'd never lived there, like the room had erased him. They asked if I was sure he even existed. I showed them the lease, the text messages, the bank deposits, but when I pulled up the records, they were gone. No payment history, no messages, no profile photo. Like he'd been deleted. They treated me like I was just tired, overworked, maybe dealing with stress. They offered to send someone by later to file a formal statement, but they never did. And that night, I heard a knock, not at the front door, at my bedroom door. It was 3:11 a.m. I sat up in bed, staring at the knob. The knock came again. Soft. Knock, knock, knock. I reached for my phone. Dead. The power was out. And then I heard it. A voice, low, familiar, right outside the door. "I told you not to go in my room." I didn't sleep, didn't move. By morning, the power was back and my door was open, just a crack. I moved out the next day, left everything behind, found a furnished sublet on the other side of the city. But last night someone slid a letter under my door. No name, no return address. Inside was a single photo, a blurry shot of me, taken from behind, brushing my teeth, and in the mirror, there was someone else standing in the hallway, smiling, wearing Eric's hoodie. I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped into the kitchen and saw the mug on the counter. It was old, chipped, and stained on the rim, the exact same kind my mother used to drink from 20 years ago. But I didn't own that mug, and I lived alone. The house was new to me. Or at least new again. It had been in the family for decades, passed down, sold, reclaimed. After Mom died, it sat abandoned for 6 years. Then the bank dumped it on the market. I bought it without thinking. Felt right at the time. Nostalgic. A way to reconnect. But now, I think something remembered me before I ever came back. I picked up the mug and turned it over. A name was scratched into the bottom in fading ink. Mark. My name. The exact way she used to label our stuff. Thing is, that mug was thrown away in 2004. That was the first moment I felt the split. Like the house remembered a version of me that wasn't me anymore. Like it wanted to pull me back into the shape I used to be. The next day, I found the upstairs bedroom arranged exactly how it was when I was 9. Not similar. Identical. Same desk. Same toy chest. Same crayon drawings on the wall. Still faintly visible under a fresh coat of paint. I hadn't been in that room in over 20 years. I hadn't touched those drawings since 2nd grade. Asked the contractor who flipped the house if he kept any of the old furniture. He swore everything had been gutted. They even replaced the drywall. So how the hell were my drawings still there? I started dreaming about the house every night, but in the dreams it wasn't empty. It was full. Bustling. People I didn't recognize walking through the halls. Faces blurred. Voices muted. But they always said the same thing. You're not supposed to be here. Then there were the mirrors. They started drifting. I'd go to the bathroom and the mirror would be fogged before I turned on the shower. I'd wipe it and my reflection would look a second too slow. Not delayed, just thinking. I caught myself talking to the house, calling out like someone might answer, saying things like, "I'm back," or "Did you miss me?" I didn't even realize I was doing it until one night while brushing my teeth I looked up and the mirror didn't show me. It showed the hallway, empty. But then, slowly, someone stepped into frame wearing my clothes, but not me. I spun around. Nothing there. Looked back at the mirror. It was normal again. Just me. Alone. I stopped using mirrors after that. Covered them all with old sheets, but the reflections didn't stop. They just found other ways in the window at night. In the black screen of the TV, in the reflection on the stove, always just behind me. I finally pulled the deed-checked public records, and that's when I found out. The house was sold 5 years ago, not by the bank, but by someone with my last name. I'm an only child. My parents are dead. The signature on the form, Mark Halstead, my name, in my handwriting, but I didn't sell it. I hadn't been back here since I was 17. I started recording everything, notes, timestamps, voice memos. I needed to prove to myself I wasn't losing it, but each day, something changed. The kitchen would rearrange. A door I was sure I locked would swing open. One night, I found photos in the hallway, family photos, me, Mom, and Dad, smiling, happy. But the man in the photos wasn't me. His eyes were darker, smile wider, just wrong enough to be noticeable. But the name under each photo, Mark. I don't think I came back to this house. I think it brought me back. And I think it's trying to make me remember something that never happened. I tried to leave, packed a bag, locked the door behind me, drove 3 towns over to a motel that smelled like cigarettes and bleach. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just needed distance. But around 2 a.m. I got up to get water, walked past the bathroom mirror in the motel room, and saw the hallway from my childhood home behind me. Faint. Faded. Like it was leaking through the glass. I didn't sleep after that. Checked out at sunrise. When I got back to the house, the front door was wide open. I know I locked it. The kitchen smelled like burnt toast. There was a half-finished breakfast on the table, 2 eggs, overcooked. Toast with too much butter and a coffee mug, the same one from before. Still warm. I walked through the house slowly like I was intruding. Every room was clean. Too clean. Toys I hadn't seen in decades sat perfectly aligned on the old rug. My childhood shoes sat by the back door, laces tied. The fridge had photos pinned up with magnets, old vacations we never took, me in places I've never been, always smiling, always with my parents. But in each one, something was just off. My dad's hand on my shoulder was backwards. My mom's eyes didn't match and my smile too wide, too sharp, like it had been drawn on. I went back to my room, the room that had somehow become my old bedroom. Again, the sheets were the same red ones I had as a kid. There was a journal on the nightstand I hadn't written in it, but the entries had my name at the top, Mark Halstead. Age 9, the writing was messy, childlike, but I don't remember writing a single word of it. The last page just said, "I want to come back now." That night I stayed up, lights on, sitting in the hallway. At 3:13 a.m., the lights all flickered out, not like a power outage, like something breathed them out. And at the end of the hallway, the door to the basement opened, slowly, like it was inviting me. Here's the thing. This house never had a basement. I should have run, but I didn't. I got up, walked to the stairs, and looked down. There was light at the bottom. Pale, blue-white, flickering like it was underwater. I went down slowly, one step at a time. The air got colder with every breath, and then I saw myself standing at the bottom of the stairs. Same face, same clothes, but he looked older, tired, like he'd been waiting. He smiled and said, "I've been holding your place." I turned and ran, didn't stop until I hit the front door, but when I opened it, it wasn't the outside anymore. It was the hallway again, repeating, looping, like the house had folded in on itself. I'm still here. I haven't seen daylight in 3 days. Every time I open a window, it's just another room, the same room, reflected, shifted, and now, the lights don't work at all. There's a new photo on the fridge. Me, standing in the kitchen, holding a birthday cake, 9 candles, except I haven't had a birthday party since 2006. I checked the mirror again, today. My reflection isn't copying me anymore, it just watches blinking when I don't mouth, closed when I speak, like it's getting ready to take over. This house doesn't want me to leave. It wants me to forget, to become the version of me that never left. The one who belonged here, the one who never grew up. Sometimes I hear my mother's voice calling from the upstairs. "Hallway soft, warm, dinner's ready." Mark, I almost go, but then I remember. My mother's been dead for 11 years. There are more journals now, lined up on the nightstand. Each with a year stamped on the cover, each with my name. I opened the newest one. It describes everything I've done this week, down to the exact words I said yesterday. Then, the entry ends with something I haven't done yet. Mark finally accepts it. He puts the old key in the wall behind the closet. The house breathes easier. I checked behind the closet. There was a hole in the plaster, and a key, ancient, blackened metal, still warm in my hand. I haven't used it yet, but I think if I do, the house will finally stop fighting me, or maybe it'll just finish changing me. Today I caught my reflection smiling while I was crying. There's a new photo on the hallway wall now, me, and him, the other me. We're both smiling, but I can't remember taking it. I don't remember when we became friends. Last night I finally asked the house out loud, "What do you want?" And it answered not in words, but in a feeling. Warmth. Stillness. Belonging. It doesn't want me to leave. Because I already never did. I keep having the same dream. I'm standing in the kitchen. The mug is on the counter. The eggs are on the stove and Mom is behind me, humming the tune she used to play when I was sick. But when I turn around, it's not her, it's me, the child version, holding the key, smiling and whispering, "It's okay now. You're home." I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if I ever left this house or if I ever came back, maybe. I've always been here. Or maybe this place just wants me to believe that. All I know is this. Every time I try to write it all down, I find a journal with the same words already written. Sometimes in my handwriting, sometimes in another version of it. Like someone else has been telling this story for years. Like I'm just the next chapter.